Welcome to State of Wellbeing, a podcast from South Dakota State University. The State of Wellbeing is a holistic well-being podcast with the goal of supporting the campus community as we strive to be a growing, high-performing, and healthy university.
Welcome to the State of Wellbeing podcast. My name is Kevin Sackrider. I am the Executive Director for the Center for Professional Enrichment and Teaching Excellence here at South Dakota State University. For our purposes this summer, our goal is to focus on employee-specific topics and try to provide another perspective on the concept of well-being. And so I'm really excited that today we're going to be able to focus on the Employee Assistance Program. Linda Van Maanen from Human Resources, who serves as the Systems Payroll Center Coordinator, is here to join us today. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have this conversation. I anticipate that I'm going to learn a lot through this conversation. And so since we're going to focus on the Employee Assistance Program, I thought maybe we would just start with giving you a chance to tell us what is the Employee Assistance Program and why provide an Employee Assistance Program to South Dakota employees.
Well, the Employee Assistance Program, often referred to as EAP, is sponsored by the State of South Dakota Employee Benefits Program and is administered by ComPsych or Guidance Resources. This service is offered at no cost to the benefit-eligible employee, their spouses, dependents, and household members. Services are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you need short-term counseling from the highly trained professionals or practical assistance for your most pressing legal or financial issues, or maybe you just need some tools and resources to improve your work-life balance. The EAP is here to help.
So, and maybe I missed it just a little bit, but why, in your opinion, why does the state of South Dakota provide this program to employees?
They provide this program because we do truly care about our employees and their dependents. So many times employees or their dependents are going through different difficult, maybe high stress levels, anxiety, grief, relationship, marital conflicts, or legal concerns, or maybe their financial issues, or maybe there's drug or alcohol abuse, and many, many more situations that families are dealing with. So as the state of South Dakota benefits eligible employees, this EAP program is offered at free of charge as needed for those concerns or emotions that those families may be having.
You know, as you kind of talked about that, there are a lot of sensitive topics kind of come up. Talk to me a little bit about confidentiality. If I'm an employee and I reach out through the Employee Assistance Program, what kind of confidentiality can I be assured of?
That's a great question, and it's often asked by employees and their dependents. So the EAP is strictly confidential. No information about your participation in the program is provided to your employer. So it is voluntary, free, and strictly confidential.
So nobody here at the university will know if I'm utilizing the program.
Correct.
So why would I want to use the program? And I'll start by thinking about myself individually, and then maybe I'll follow up by talking about my family. But why, as an employee, would I want to use the Employee Assistance Program?
That's a great question, and I think that we can all relate to these services throughout our lifetime, especially with all the different scenarios and situations that we have. But maybe you have a time where you're feeling overwhelmed by the demands of balancing that work and life home. I hear that a lot. You know, it gets really hectic to balance that work and life, timing, finances, all different kinds of things. Or maybe you're experiencing stress, anxiety, or even a little bit of depression. Or maybe you're dealing with a grief of a loss. Or maybe you need assistance with your child or elder care concerns, or have legal or financial questions, or have concerns about substance abuse for yourself or a dependent. And I know I could really relate. I got my kids raised, and then my parents started failing, and I had a full-time job. I had, a home life, and it was like kind of overwhelming because I wanted to do the best thing for my parents while still maintaining my home and a 40-hour work job. So I think through your lifetime, there's always those situations that everybody could use a little help.
You know, I think that spins for me into that family conversation as well, because I very similar. I think about my past year with my family, and my son was involved in was hit by a car, actually, and there were just a lot of things that kind of pop up, and injuries that our kids encounter through athletics and those sort of things, just the day-to-day. So how about for my family? How can the Employee Assistance Program benefit me and my family, thinking a little more holistically?
So what the EAP actually provides is short-term counseling. So maybe it's just a period that you're really stressed out, or like you said, you go home and think, oh, what a day I had. And then you have a son that gets hit by a car.
Right.
And then, wow, that really brought it up. And those kind of situations come up unexpectedly. So the EAP can provide that short-term counseling and guidance. What they do is you call that toll-free number and you'll speak directly to a person. And they will refer you to someone with a master's or a PhD level counselor who will collect some information about you or your dependent or your situation, and will talk about your needs. And then the guidance consultant will provide the counselor who can assist you. And then you can set up an appointment to speak with the counselor over the phone, or you can do a face-to-face visit.
So when I call the toll-free number, that's kind of where my next question was going to go. Is it just specifically for the counseling portion of the Employee Assistance Program, or are there other things that calling that number will put into effect?
Yeah, so that's a great question. They do offer a lot of flexible solutions. Typically, it's a counselor that you will give that information to, and then they would make recommendations from there. So maybe it's short-term counseling. You just need that maybe 1 or 2 visits, to help guide you and where to go on that situation. Or maybe it ends up being a longer-term situation. This is something that you have pop up chronically, and you need beyond that 5. And they can make referrals for you and help you get connected to somebody who is actually local that can help you set up those sessions. And these sessions can be a variety of ways. Face-to-face, maybe you'd like to meet with somebody in person. A lot of people like to do that, and the locations fit your busy schedule. Or maybe you want to do the telephone. You don't want to have to actually see somebody face-to-face. If an in-person counseling is not possible or not appealing to you, counseling services can be provided over the phone. You just speak to that highly qualified professional without the hassle of an office visit. Or maybe you'd like to do a video visit. Scheduling an easy face-to-face session. Video counseling appeals to those who desire alternative in-person counseling. That's all required is a webcam and software, which can be downloaded for free to use this option. Or I know I had a young man come in and talk to me the other day, and he would just as soon chat, do text messaging. So this was a great option for him because he didn't want to do face-to-face. He didn't want to talk to somebody on the phone. He really didn't want to do a video chat either. So he was able to reach out through guidance resources and offered text counseling. And so that worked out really good for him. So there's a wide variety of ways that you can use these counseling options.
I love that flexibility. I'm notorious within my home for not wanting to talk to people on the phone, and so to have the chat options and the text options, I think that's really appealing.
And so much more flexible for people.
Right.
Our lives are so busy, just always leaving work or leaving home to run to that appointment isn't always the best option for folks. So it's really nice to have those face-to-face, telephone, video, or online chat and texting.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's exciting that those options are there. you mentioned a few of the different counseling services. You mentioned short-term, and then you mentioned long-term. And I just wanted to make sure that we thoroughly cover the counseling piece as we're talking about well-being. Were there any additional services related to counseling that you wanted to make sure that we shared with the folks who are listening?
Yeah, and one thing I think that the EAP or Employee Assistance Program offers is webinars. And so they have live webinars that you can attend. And if you happen to miss that live webinar, they do have previously recorded webinars. And even if you're not an employee eligible for benefits, this is all out on the state's benefit website. And these are previously recorded webinars that anybody could watch at any time. So, like I said, the one thing that really hit home for me was elder care. So I was able to, get a lot of insight on what happens when the doctor says your mom's coming home on Thursday and she can't be left alone. And then you're like, oh my goodness, now what? So this is a great service that helps you know what type of things to be looking at. How do you get your parents into a nursing home? Do they need a full care facility? Or do they just need assisted living? Or maybe they just need home health care where somebody can stop in and visit and just check on them. And so there's lots of different things that go into that. Another great webinar that they have is Parenting Series. And so they talk about the different things that your children face through growing up with other classmates and different situations. That is a great one, too, that you can take part in. They have what happens when someone you love has Alzheimer's. That usually comes out in I don't know how to deal with this. So this is a great place or a great webinar to get that kind of information. Or, there's lots of tools, digital tools that they have that also support, they have Guidance Resources offers a customized online experience designed to engage you through a variety of cutting-edge interactive tools and other resources. So there's lots of different there's mobile apps that you can use. These webinars are awesome as well. And so I know I've watched several of these webinars thinking, oh, I don't know, should I just watch this or not? And after I got done, I was like, I'm so glad I watched that. I mean, sometimes it's something that you had no idea how it worked, or maybe it's just really good reminders because we get so busy in our lives, and sometimes we need to stop and smell the roses, right? So it offers really good services that way.
I love the flexibility that kind of keeps coming out as you talk about all the different programs and the variety of programs as well. I think in various stages of life you encounter so many of the topics from parenting to supporting your parents, and I just think that my eyes have been opened as you kind of talked about all those different services. So my next question actually relates to managers and supervisors here at SDSU and how the Employee Assistance Program benefits them, but how they can also use the program to support their employees within their units.
That is a great option as well. So the EAP does a great job as a referral resource. So when an employee expresses concerns, maybe they're telling you about a concern, or maybe they're not saying anything, but you notice they've gotten really quiet, or all of a sudden they're starting to show up late for work, or their performance is just not there, and it's not typical for them. As a manager, the EAP program is one of those that you could mention to the employee and maybe print off the flyer or give them the information. It's not our job really to be the professional counselor or their best friend, but the EAP can handle those situations and help guide those employees, because maybe it's a family concern, maybe it's for the employee. We have chronic illnesses, and sometimes those can be hard to deal with. And so the EAP is a great resource for a manager to use to help assist that employee without learning all the personal information in the situation.
And I think what's great about it is that it's an existing program, an existing benefit of being an employee of the state. And my perception would be that it would, as a supervisor, I would be able to be sharing information about different options of programming and benefits to my employees without maybe having to directly put anyone on the spot either. There's pathways to share this information in a comfortable, supportive way without isolating an employee's situation.
Absolutely. And the fact that it's strictly voluntary and it's a free service, so it doesn't cost them anything. And it's just, we want our employees to succeed. We want them to exceed not only at work, but we want to exceed at home. And so this is a great program to help support that employee in any way that we can so that they can meet those expectations of their family and their work.
Linda, one of the things I want to make sure we get out and available for people is how do they reach the EAP program? Specifically, is there a number that they can call?
So employees have a couple different options. They can call the toll-free number, which is 833-955-3403, or they can go online to guidanceresources.com and see all the different services, how to take advantage of those services. And there also is the MyStrength mobile app. So this can be downloaded through mobile apps. Those mobile apps are a free download, or you can call that toll-free number.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for joining us today on our State of Wellbeing podcast. Again, I think this has been an outstanding conversation. If you have additional questions or need support in accessing the EAP program, the Employee Assistance Program, or, as I said, just want to follow up with some additional questions, I'm assuming, Linda, you're more than happy to have some conversations with folks related to this topic.
Absolutely. I'm here to help you in any way that I can. Just shoot me an email, give me a call. Stop in and see me, and we'll get you taken care of.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Linda, for joining us, and thank you all for being a part of this episode of the State of Wellbeing podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of State of Wellbeing, a podcast from South Dakota State University. This podcast is brought to you by the Mental Wellbeing Team and SD State Health.